The Crescent Theater stood like a forgotten relic on the edge of a small Midwest town, its faded marquee sagging under decades of neglect. Mia Lawson, a young director in her late 20s, pulled her worn hatchback into the gravel lot, her heart pounding with a mix of hope and grief. Her father had dreamed of reviving this historic venue before his sudden death from a heart attack 2 years ago, a dream cut short by his endless auditions and unpaid bills. Mia, haunted by his loss and her own stalled career in Chicago's cutthroat theater scene, had inherited his passion. Reopening the Crescent with a classic play was her chance to honor him, to prove she could succeed where he hadn't. The late autumn air was crisp, carrying the scent of damp leaves as Mia stepped inside, her boots echoing on the cracked lobby floor. Dust hung in the dim light filtering through boarded windows, and a portrait of a young man and actor, according to old records, stared from the wall, his expression somber yet piercing. The theater had closed in the 1920s after a scandal. Whispers of a stabbing during a performance, but Mia brushed off the rumors. She was here to rebuild, not chase ghosts. She explored the auditorium, its velvet seats torn, the stage warped but grand. As she stood in the spotlight's dusty beam, a shadow flickered at the stage's edge, a figure, indistinct, reenacting a scene. A raised arm, a glint of a knife, a silent scream. Mia blinked and it was gone, her pulse quickening. Just tired, she muttered, blaming the long drive. But the air felt heavier, the portrait's eyes seeming to follow her. Her team arrived. Alina, the lead actress, nervous but eager, her insecurity mirroring Mia's own doubts. Theo, a charismatic actor with a sharp smile but guarded eyes. Kara, the pragmatic stage manager, who scoffed at the theater's haunted reputation. Kada. They gathered in the lobby, their voices filling the silence. "This place is a dump," Kara said, kicking a loose floorboard. "You sure we can pull this off?" Mia forced a smile. "It's Dad's dream. We stage the Betrayer's Blade, sell out the house, get investors. The Crescent will shine again." A man entered, his polished suit out of place in the dusty lobby. "Mr. Harlan," he introduced himself, an investor with a slick smile and cold eyes. "I'm funding this venture. The town needs its theater, but I want that play, The Betrayer's Blade. It's fitting." Mia nodded, uneasy at his insistence, but grateful for the money. Harlan's family had ties to the town, though he was vague about details. She sensed he knew more about the Crescent's past than he let on, but her focus was on the play, not old stories. They toured the backstage, finding props and costumes from decades past, including a tattered script for The Betrayer's Blade. Mia flipped through it, her father's voice in her mind, reciting lines from his favorite play. The story, a tale of love and murder, felt alive in her hands, a connection to him. But as she read, a faint echo of dialogue came from the empty stage, words not in the script. "You betrayed me." She froze, looking at her team, but they hadn't heard. "Creaky old place," Theo said, brushing it off, though his eyes lingered on the shadows. Elena shivered. "It feels like someone's watching." Kara rolled her eyes. "It's just a theater." Let's focus." Mia nodded, but her heart raced. She sat with the team, sharing her father's story, his love for the Crescent, his death before he could see it reborn. "He believed in this place," she said, her voice cracking. "I'm doing this for him." Lena squeezed her hand, her own loss of brother to addiction making her empathize. Theo stayed quiet, his gaze distant, while Harlan watched with an unreadable expression. Mia felt a spark of hope. Her team was flawed but dedicated, and the theater could be saved. That night, alone in the manager's office, Mia studied the portrait. The actor's eyes seemed brighter, his expression shifting, almost a frown. She shook it off, blaming exhaustion. But as she left, shadow moved on the stage again, the same stabbing motion, silent but vivid. The air grew cold, the echo of "You betrayed me" lingering. Hush. Mia's dream to reopen the Crescent was alive, but the theater held secrets. And the portrait's gaze suggested. It was unteed, just her father's past she'd uncover. The stage was set, and something or someone was waiting in the wings. The Crescent Theater's dusty air clung to Mia Lawson as she stood in the auditorium. The faint echo of "You betrayed me" still ringing in her ears from the previous night. The old Midwest venue, with its peeling paint and warped stage, was her chance to honor her late father's dream of reviving it. but the shadowy figure Sheedy. Seen reenacting a stabbing scene, and the unsettling gaze of the portrait in the lobby had planted seeds of unease. Mia, in her late 20s, and haunted by her father's death and her own career failures, pushed the fear aside. Focusing on her goal, stage the betrayer's blade, attract investors, and reopen the theater. Yet the house felt alive, watching her every move. Morning brought her team back: Alina, the nervous lead actress; Theo, the charismatic but guarded actor; and Kara, the skeptical stage manager. They gathered in the lobby, sunlight barely piercing the boarded windows, the portrait of the young actor staring down with eyes that seemed too bright. Mia clutched the tattered script, its pages brittle but intact. "We start rehearsals today," she said, her voice firm despite the lingering chill. "Let's make this place shine." Kara snorted, adjusting her tool belt. "Shine? This dumps one spark from a fire hazard." Alina fidgeted, her eyes darting to the shadows. "It's creepy, like someone's here." Theo grinned, leaning against the wall. "Old theaters have ghosts. And my uncle used to say this place closed for a reason. Some actor got stabbed mid-show in the 20s. Mia's stomach twisted, remembering the shadow's knife. "Just stories," she said, echoing her father's dismissal of superstition. "Let's focus on the play." They moved to the stage, setting up props: candlesticks, a velvet cloak, a dull prop knife. Mia directed the first scene, a tense exchange between lovers. But the words felt heavier than they should, as if the theater itself were listening. During a break, she shared more about her father, needing her team to understand her drive. "He poured everything into theater," she said, her voice soft. "He died before he could bring this place back. I owe him this." Alina nodded, her own grief surfacing. "I get it, my brother. He's gone too. This play's my shot to prove I'm more than a failure." Theo stayed quiet, his eyes on the script, but Mia caught a flicker of pain in his expression. Kara, practical as ever, clapped her hands. "Enough sob stories. Let's run lines." As rehearsals began, strange things happened. The script's dialogue seemed to shift lines. Not in the original text appeared. Whispers of betrayal and blood scrawled in faded ink. Mia frowned, flipping through pages, but the words vanished when she looked again. "Did anyone touch this?" she asked, holding up the script. Kara shook her head. "It's old. It's probably just smudged." But Elena's voice trembled. "I heard something last night during my scene, like someone else was speaking my lines." Oh. Theo's grin faltered. "This place has history. My uncle mentioned that stabbing a lead actor killed during the betrayer's blade. Never solved." Mia's heart raced, the shadowy figure flashing in her mind. She glanced at the portrait in the lobby, visible through the auditorium doors. Its expression seemed different, angrier maybe. She shook it off, focusing on the team. "We keep going. For my dad, for us." Mr. Harlan, the investor, arrived, his slick suit and cold smile out of place. "I trust you're using the original play," he said, his tone sharp. "It's what this theater needs." Mia nodded, uneasy at his insistence. Harlan's family had deep ties to the town, and his push for the betrayer's blade felt personal, almost possessive. She wondered what he wasn't saying, but his funding was their lifeline. That evening, alone on stage, Mia ran lines, her voice echoing. The air grew colder, and the portrait's eyes seemed to follow her, even from the lobby. She heard a faint whisper. "You betrayed me," coming from the empty seats. She spun, seeing nothing but the prop knife on the table glinted, as if moved. Her father's voice echoed in her mind, urging her to keep going, but the theater's shadows felt alive, closing in. Mia sat with the script, her hands trembling. The team's bond was her strength. But Elena's fear, Theo's secrets, and Harlan's intensity worried her. No, the theater wasn't just a stage, it was a vault of secrets, and the portrait's gaze suggested it knew more than she did. Reopening the Crescent was her father's dream. But as the whispers grew louder, Mia feared the play was waking something that wanted to finish its story. The Crescent Theater's air was thick with dust and secrets, the dim auditorium lights casting long shadows across the warped stage where Mia Lawson directed her team through rehearsals for the Betrayer S. Blade, the young director. driven to revive the old Midwest venue to honor her late father's dream, felt the weight of the theater's past pressing in. The shadowy figure she'd seen reenacting a stabbing, the whispers of "you betrayed me," and the portrait of the young actor in the lobby, its eyes too alive, had turned her ambition into unease. Her team, Elena, the insecure lead actress, Theo, the guarded actor, and Kara, the skeptical stage manager, shared her tension, though they clung to their roles, bound by Mia's passion and their own stakes. Morning rehearsals were tense, the script's pages seeming to shift under Mia's fingers. Lines not in the original text appeared, phrases like "the blade knows the truth" and "blood for betrayal" scrawled in faint, spidery ink. She read them aloud, her voice faltering, and the words vanished, leaving only the printed dialogue. "Did you see that?" Holding up the script, Kara frowned, peering over. "It's just old paper. Ink bleeds." Elena's hands trembled, her eyes darting to the lobby's portrait. "It's this place. I feel it watching me." Theo, flipping through props, stayed quiet, but his jaw tightened. He'd spent the morning digging through the theater's basement, unearthing yellowed news clippings about the 1920s stabbing a lead actor. James Carver, killed mid-performance during the betrayer's blade. The killer was never found. The theater shuttered soon after. "My uncle mentioned that case," Theo said finally. "Said it cursed this place." Mia's stomach twisted, the shadowy figure flashing in her mind. "It's not cursed. We're just stressed." But her words felt hollow, the portrait's gaze burning through the auditorium doors. Rehearsals continued, the team running a scene where Elena's character pleaded with her lover, played by Theo. As Elena spoke, the stage lights flickered, and a whisper echoed from the empty seat's betrayer. The team froze, Kara checking the lighting rig, finding nothing wrong. Mia's heart raced, but she pushed them forward, needing to keep control. During a break, Mia sat with Elena, sensing her fear. "You okay?" she asked, her voice soft. Elena shook her head, tears welling. "I lost my brother to addiction. This plate's my chance to be someone, but I feel like I'm losing myself here." Mia squeezed her hand, her own grief for her father surfacing. "We're doing this for the people we've lost. We'll get through it." Theo joined them, his usual charm muted. "Found something else downstairs," he said. Pulling out a program from 1923, it listed James Carver as the lead, with a note dedicated to my family H. Mia frowned. "It's for Harlan, their investor." His insistence on this play felt more sinister now. Mr. Harlan arrived, his slick suit stark against the theater's decay. "Progress?" he asked, his eyes lingering on the portrait. "This play must be perfect. It's what the Crescent deserves." Mia nodded, her unease growing. Harlan's connection to the theater was deeper than he'd admitted, and his cold smile hinted at secrets. She decided to research more, visiting the town library after rehearsals. Old records confirmed the stabbing but offered no suspect, only whispers of a jealous rival. The librarian mentioned the Harlan family's wealth tied to the theater's original funding, a detail that chilled Mia. Back at the Crescent, the portrait's face seemed different, eyes narrowed, almost angry. Mia stood before it, the script in hand, and read a new line. "The truth cuts deeper than the blade." The words weren't there moments ago. She dropped the script, her pulse racing, and heard a faint laugh from the stage, though the auditorium was empty. She gathered the team, sharing her findings. "This play, the stabbing, it's all connected. Script's changing, like it's trying to tell us something." Kara scoffed. "Someone's messing with us. Prank." But Elena's voice trembled. "It's not a prank. I saw him, the man from the portrait, on stage last night." Theo's eyes darkened. "My uncle said the killer was never caught. Maybe the theater's holding on to that." The air grew colder, the portrait's gaze heavier. Yes. Sympathy for her team, Alona's vulnerability, Theo's secrets mixed with fear for their safety. The theater wasn't just a stage, it was a witness, its script rewriting history. As night fell, the whispers returned, louder, accusing betrayer. Mia knew reopening the Crescent meant facing its past, but the portrait's angry eyes and the script's ghostly words suggested the truth was closer and more dangerous than she'd imagined. The Crescent Theater's shadowed auditorium pulsed with an eerie tension as Mia Lawson directed her team through another rehearsal of the betrayer's blade. The old Midwest venue, her father's dream to revive, was no longer just a stage, but a living entity. its secrets unraveling through the portrait of James Carver. The actor stabbed in the 1920s, and the script that added its own lines of betrayal and blood. Mia, driven by her father's death and her own career failures, felt the weight of the theater's past pressing in, her team Alina, the fragile lead actress, Theo, the secretive actor, and Kara, the skeptical stage manager caught in its grip. The whispers of betrayer and the portrait's shifting expressions had turned curiosity into fear. And Mr. Harlan's push for the play hinted at a darker connection. Rehearsals were faltering, the team on edge. Alina stood center stage, delivering her lines as the betrayed lover, but her voice cracked, and suddenly, words not in the script poured out guttural, ancient, like Latin or Old English. "Ego fellum prodidi," she hissed, her eyes glassy, her body rigid. The stage lights flickered, casting her face in shadow. And the portrait in the lobby, visible through the open doors, twisted into a grimace of pain. Mia rushed forward, grabbing Elena's shoulders. "Alina, snap out of it." Elena blinked, collapsing into Mia's arms, her voice trembling. "I don't know what happened." Kara checked the script, her hands shaking. "Those words aren't here. What the hell's going on?" Theo's face was pale, his usual charm gone. "It's the theater. My uncle said the play was cursed. James Carver's death wasn't just a murder. Something went wrong." Mia's heart pounded, the portrait's grimace burned into her mind. She sent the team for a break, needing answers. In the manager's office, she dug through old records, finding a journal from the 1923 production. It described the betrayer's blade as tainted, the cast plagued by visions, the lead actor James claiming the script spoke to him. A note mentioned a ritual gone awry, tying the play to a betrayal among the theater's founders, including a Harlan. She confronted Theo, who'd been quiet all day. "You know more than you're saying," she said, her voice sharp. "Your uncle? The clippings, what's your connection?" Theo hesitated, then confessed. "My great-grandfather was James Carver's brother. He was here when it happened. He said the killer was someone close, maybe a Harlan. I came to find out." Mia's stomach churned. Mr. Harlan's insistence on the play, his family's ties, it wasn't just funding. She called the library, confirming the Harlan family's role as original investors, rumored to have sabotaged rivals. The journal hinted at a cover-up, the stabbing blamed on a vagrant to protect someone powerful. Back on stage, Alina was shaken, refusing to rehearse. "I felt him," she whispered. "James, he was inside me," saying those words. Mia's sympathy for Alina grew, her own grief for her father, echoing her actress's fear. "We'll figure this out," she promised, though doubt gnawed at her. She gathered the team, sharing the journal's findings. The play is tied to James's murder. "The script's trying to tell us who did it." Kara scoffed, but her voice wavered. "So, what, a ghost is rewriting our lines?" Theo's eyes darkened. "It's more than that. Look at the portrait." They turned to the lobby, where the portrait's face now showed agony, its eyes locked on the stage. A whisper echoed, the blade nose, and the prop knife glinted, untouched on the table. Mia's fear spiked, but her father's dream pushed her forward. "We keep going," she said. "We finish the play, for James, for my dad." Harlan arrived, his smile colder than ever. "Trouble?" he asked, glancing at the portrait. "Stick to the script. It's what the theater needs." Mia's suspicion flared. His family's history. His push for the play felt like he was hiding something. She decided to push through rehearsals, watching him closely. As the team ran lines, the script added another line. "The investor's hand holds the knife." Mia froze, her eyes meeting Harlan's, his expression unreadable. That night, alone in the auditorium, Mia felt the theater's weight. The portrait's eyes followed her, the whispers growing louder. Betrayer. She sat with her father's old script, his notes in the margins, and felt his presence urging her on. But the stage lights flickered, and the shadow appeared again, reenacting the stabbing, the knife's glint to real. Mia's resolve wavered, her team's safety at risk. The theater was waking its past. The portrait's anguished face suggested the truth was closer, and more dangerous than she'd feared. The Crescent Theater's auditorium pulsed with an oppressive energy, the air thick with the scent of dust and something sharper, like old blood. Mia Lawson stood on the warped stage, her heart racing as the script for the betrayer's blade lay open in her trembling hands. its pages now littered with ghostly lines accusing an investor of murder. The portrait of James Carver, the actor stabbed in the 1920s, glared from the lobby, its face twisted in agony, as if the theater itself were demanding justice. Mia's drive to revive the venue for her late father's dream had spiraled into terror with Elena's possession. The script's eerie additions and Mr. Harlan's suspicious ties to the past. Her team: Elena, the fragile actress; Theo, the secretive actor with family ties to James; and Kara, the skeptical stage manager, teetered on the edge of panic, their fates tied to the cursed play. Rehearsals resumed under flickering lights, the team's nerves frayed. Mia directed a pivotal scene, but the prop beneath a dull blade meant for show vanished from the table midline. The stage grew cold, and a low moan echoed from the empty seats. Kara searched backstage, her voice shaking. "It's gone. Someone took it." Elena's eyes widened, her recent possession haunting her. "It's him, James. He's doing this." Theo clutched a news clipping he'd found, his voice low. "My great-grandfather said the killer used a real knife, not a prop. It disappeared after the murder." Mia's stomach churned. The script's latest line, "The investor's hand holds the knife," pointing to Harlan. She confronted him in the lobby, the portrait's eyes boring into them. "Your family was involved in James's death," she said, holding up the journal. "Why this play? What are you hiding?" Harlan's smile was icy. "You're imagining things, Mia. Focus on the performance. The town needs this theater." But his deflection only fueled her suspicion. She sent him away, gathering the team. "Can't trust him," she said. The script, the portraits, all pointing to a Harlan. Kara, pale but resolute, nodded. "Then we cancel. This is too dangerous." Elena shook her head, tears streaming. "I can't stop. I need this for my brother, for me." Theo's voice was grim. "My family deserves the truth. James was my kin." He finished the play. Mia's heart ached, her father's dream clashing with her fear for her team. She agreed to continue, but the theater's energy grew darker. During the next rehearsal, the prop knife reappeared on stage, its blade now sharp and bloodied, though no one was hurt. Theo lunged for it, but a shadow surged, a ghostly figure of James, reenacting the stabbing with chilling precision. Theo stumbled back, a shallow cut on his arm, blood dripping onto the stage. Elena screamed, and the lights went out, plunging the auditorium into darkness. When they flickered back, the knife was gone again, and the portrait's face was screaming silently. Mia's fear peaked, but her resolve held. She dug deeper, finding a hidden ledger backstage, listing Harlan's ancestor as a theater founder who profited after James's death, suggesting a motive: jealousy or greed. She confronted Harlan again, this time with the ledger. "Your family covered up the murder. Why are you pushing this play?" His eyes darkened, but he laughed. "You're chasing ghosts, Mia. Finish the play, or I pull my funding." The threat hit hard, but Mia saw through it. Harlan needed the play, too, as if tied to the curse. The team rallied, their bond strained but unbreakable. Mia sat with Elena, sharing her father's love for theater, their shared grief forging strength. "We'll do this for them," she said, though worry gnawed at her. That night alone, Mia studied the script, new lines appearing, the truth cuts on opening night. The portrait's scream echoed in her mind, and the shadow of James appeared again, his knife raised, his eyes pleading. A whisper filled the theater. "Finish it." Mia's hands shook, realizing the play was a ritual, a chance to expose the killer's legacy. But the vanishing knife? Elena's possession. And Theo's injury suggested the theater wanted more than a performance, it wanted blood. As opening night loomed, the team prepared, their fear palpable. Mia felt her father's presence, urging her to see it through, but the portrait's silent scream warned of danger. Harlan's shadow loomed, his motives unclear, and the theater's ghosts grew restless. Mia's dream to reopen the Crescent was now a race against a curse, and the stage was set for a truth that could either free them or destroy them. The Crescent Theater buzzed with a restless energy on opening night, the auditorium packed with townsfolk eager to see the revived venue. Unaware of the curse pulsing beneath its warped stage, Mia Lawson stood backstage, her heart pounding as the lights dimmed. The weight of her father's dream to reopen the theater clashing with the terror of its past. The portrait of James Carver, The actor stabbed in the 1920s during the betrayer's blade loomed in the lobby, its face now a silent scream, its eyes demanding justice. The script's ghostly lines, Elena's possession, and the vanishing prop knife had revealed a truth tied to Mr. Harlan, the investor whose ancestor profited from James's murder. Mia's Team Elena, the vulnerable actress. Theo, the actor tied to James. And Kara, the pragmatic stage manager, stood ready, their fates bound to the play's climax. The curtain rose, and Elena took the stage, her voice trembling but strong as she delivered the opening lines. The script had rewritten itself again, new words of betrayal and retribution flowing from her lips. The audience leaned forward, captivated, but Mia felt the theater shift, the air growing colder, heavier. The portrait's scream echoed in her mind, and shadows flickered in the wings James's ghost, reenacting his death with a chilling precision that made her skin crawl. Theo entered, his character accusing Elena's of deceit, but his lines morphed, naming a Harlan as the betrayer. The audience gasped, thinking it part of the show, but Mia saw Mr. Harlan in the front row, his face pale, his hands clenched. The prop knife, sharp and bloodied from its earlier vanishing, reappeared in Theo's hand, glinting under the stage lights. Elena's eyes glazed over, her voice slipping into that ancient tongue again. Ego fell on Protiti, and the portrait's face in the lobby twisted, its mouth moving in sync. Kara, backstage, whispered Mia, "It's happening. The play's alive." Mia's heart raced, her father's voice urging her to finish what she'd started. She signaled the team to keep going, but the stage shook, the lights flickering wildly. Elena, possessed, lunged at Theo with the knife, her movements not her own. Theo dodged, his cut from the earlier shadow attack, bleeding anew, and the audience screamed, thinking it was staged. Mia rushed on stage, grabbing Elena, who collapsed, gasping, "James. He wants the truth." The script's pages, scattered backstage, glowed faintly, new lines appearing. "The investor's blood pays the debt." Mia's eyes locked on Harlan, who stood, his face a mask of fear and guilt. Theo shouted an improvised line, drawn from the ghostly script. The Harlan name killed James Carver, hid the truth for greed. The audience murmured, confused, but the portrait's eyes blazed. And James's ghost materialized center stage, his translucent form stabbing the air, pointing at Harlan. Harlan bolted for the exit, but the theater's doors slammed shut, the locks clicking. The audience panicked, but Mia's voice rang out, "Stay calm. This is the play." She lied to keep control, but her fear was for her team, her dream, her father's legacy. The ghosts multiplied, cast members from 1923, their faces gaunt, joining James, chanting truth. Elena, free from possession, wept, clinging to Mia. Theo, bleeding but defiant, faced Harlan, who shouted, "This is nonsense. I'm just funding this." But the ledger Mia had found, detailing his ancestor's role, burned in her mind. She grabbed the microphone, her voice steady, despite her terror. James Carver was murdered by a Harlan, covered up for profit. Tonight, we expose it. The audience froze, the ghosts surging toward Harlan, their hands passing through him. He screamed, confessing, "My grandfather did it. He wanted the theater's land. I kept it quiet to protect our name." The portrait shattered, glass raining down, and the ghosts vanished, their wails fading into silence. The stage light steadied, the air warming. Harlan was arrested, the audience stunned, believing it part of the performance. The play ended to thunderous applause, the crescent reborn, its curse lifted by the truth. Mia embraced her team, Elena's tears mixing with her own, Theo's wound bandaged, Kara's skepticism broken. They'd done it for her father, for James, for themselves. As the crowd left, Mia stood alone on stage, the shattered portrait a reminder of the cost. She felt her father's presence proud, but a faint whisper lingered, "The stage remembers." The theater was free, but its shadows held echoes, and Mia wondered if justice was enough to silence them. She'd honored her father's dream, but as she locked the doors, the empty auditorium seemed to watch, waiting for the next play to call its ghosts.